Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Baby Talk Tuesday. I'm Car Wright, and I'm just going to wait a few minutes to see if some people pop on. Coming to you about an hour later than normal this week. I'm really excited about the topic as well. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Car Wright, and basically, I'm just a baby whisperer. I'm a pregnancy. I specialize in pregnancy and birth for most of my life, and when I started using the tools of access consciousness, I started to realize that I had a capacity to be way more aware of things than I thought I was, and that's one of the things I want to talk about on this call, because one of the things that I started to become aware of was that I actually was energetically aware of the babies, like in utero, not just the baby bodies, the energy of the baby body, but also the being that's coming, the baby being, um, however you want to term that, baby spirit, baby being. So, which for a lot of years, I didn't realize that's even what I was hearing. It's like sometimes, most times, because we're not actually told that it's possible to hear from things that are not like someone in front of you talking to you. um, I was never really told that it was possible that I could be hearing, communicating, being aware of the baby being or the little spirit baby. Turns out I am very aware of them. And a lot of what I was like reacting or responding to during pregnancy and birth with a lot of my clients, I was a doula for many, many years, was actually the baby giving me information. So, one of the things that is very exciting for me about baby talk, and using some of the tools of access consciousness, also just like letting people know, hey, look, you're way more energetically aware than you have ever considered. A lot of us actually have this ability to perceive beings energy and information from them. It's like anything, like some people are really good at basketball, some people have a talent for spelling, some people have a talent for math, like some people have a talent for hearing um, babies, spirit babies. And when I say hearing, it's not always like you hear it like an audio thing. Sometimes it is, but oftentimes it's just kind of a thought that occurs to you that isn't really yours. And then you have to go like, wait a second, what is that? And that was one of the things that started me on my path of understanding that I was speaking to the spirit babies, and I was really aware of them, among many other things. So that's a little bit about me. So welcome. If this is the first time you've heard Baby Tech Tuesday, welcome. And if you have any questions, if you're listening to this replay, or if you have any questions in the future, anything you want me to specifically address in these Baby Talk Tuesdays, I do have a Baby Talk Facebook group called Baby Talk with Cara Wright. So if you're seeing this, but you're not seeing it in that group, you can ask to join the group, and there'll be all of the baby talks I've ever done in there. So, and there's quite a few of them actually, and I'm always amazed at what comes out of my mouth. These things. I always think, do you ever go into things and go like, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. I have no idea what I'm going to say. And how many times has that actually been true? Like I find this is one of those topics, and I think it's because I have a lot of information flowing toward me, meaning I have a lot of babies, beings that are contributing to this. Hey, Julie. Um, it was just really wonderful to know that not everything going on in my head is actually my thoughts, because wow, that's a lot. And yeah, it was really fun for me to look back on my like career as a doula, because I no longer go to births live, but I do facilitate and work with women as birth, labor, and pregnancy coach that isn't actually being in the birth space, but for years I went to births. And it's just really interesting to look back on who I ended up working with and how often that was um, most likely the baby putting us together. Not always, but sometimes. So anyway, so today I want to talk about, like, are you giving your baby choice? Which I could also say, are you giving your body choice? Because there is also what I have also become very aware of and also experienced myself is that our bodies are actually sentient beings. You are not your body is not you. You are two conscious consciousness working together, playing together in this lifetime. And then you add a baby being and a baby body. No wonder there's so much going on in pregnancy. So for those of you think like, got for those of you that were a little overwhelmed during pregnancy, and you thought that that was a weird thing or a wrong thing, um, not really. There's a lot going on. And depending on how aware you are and how sensitive you are to things, you can actually be very aware. You can be very aware of baby body growing in your body. You can be aware of your body. You can be aware of you as a being. You can be aware of the baby being. All of those things can have different points of view. I know that's a very weird statement, but it's true. So, and one of the things when I first found the tools of access consciousness, which is something that I've been doing um, for the last 10 years, I found them for myself personally. And they were so amazing and worked so wonderfully for me, changed my life basically, that I then started using them with my clients. And here we are with Baby Talk. But when I first started like becoming familiar with these tools and learning that idea of it's something, when you learn something, but it's like, boy, does that make sense? Like that's what you knew all along, but no one just said it out loud. When I started to, have that awareness and started to play with um, some of the tools that can give you more of an awareness of this, that your body is different than you and that it has points of view as well. Like in access we talk about asking your body what it would like, what where things, what would it like to eat, what would it like to wear. Like I started like, what if you actually, like, crazy idea, what if you asked your body where it would like to birth? um Having said all of this, when I first learned these tools, I was like, no. I came into I came to access consciousness because access consciousness is that, just that. It helps you access more of your consciousness. And so much of what you start to access is the non, like, thinking mind thing. Because here we're raised to learn things, to read things, to be like, you have tests, you're in school. Like, basically, what you know is what you've learned. That's what, like, all the way up until, I found access consciousness. I didn't realize that I knew something that I didn't learn. Like, I energetically know things. And so one of the things, like, all of the tools of access consciousness are designed to empower you to know that you know. And so, wow, I started to really go like, oh, I actually have known that. And I think last week, Baby Talk, we talked about the tool of light and heavy. Like, if something is true for you, it's going to feel light, it's going to feel spacious, it's not going to have a lot of like contraction in it. It's going to be just like, oh yeah, that's light for me. And then if it's heavy, it's a lie. So when someone says something that just like like kind of like collapses you or like makes you kind of contract or withdraw or feel just kind of weird, turns out that actually is when something isn't true for you. And here's another thing, didn't know we were going to go here on this Baby Talk, but like, literally things can be true for you and for no one else on planet. And it can be like something can be true for all the people in a room but feel weird and twisted to you, and it's just not true for you. Like, how often do you try to make things that aren't true for you true because everybody else, it's true for all of them? Like, everybody else here is light for, so why then? I spent so much of my life, because I am a different bird. This girl is very different. I spent most of my life trying to figure out why what was heavy and weird for me wasn't like, why was it heavy and weird for me? Like, how do I make it light? What if you can't? Like, what if that's just where you're that different? And so, again, that's another area that for me personally, access consciousness tools have opened dynamically. And so, going back to the body, it's like, what if there's something that your body is aware of that you thinking are not allowing it to give you the information? Our bodies try to give us information all the time, unfortunately, because we have not been told that it's possible for the body to communicate with you. We misidentify it. We misidentify it as upset stomach, hunger, pain, like twisted guts, headaches, chill. Like there's so many different ways our bodies try like to tell us. Most of us are a little sick. And in an extension to that, when you're pregnant, not only is your body gifting you information, not only, but your baby's body is gifting you information, and the baby being is gifting you information. And as I said before, it can be very, very different. So, one of the things about giving your baby a choice is like first acknowledging, like, there is another consciousness here involved in the process of pregnancy, becoming pregnant. Like, how many of you feel like your baby chose you? What if it did? Like, what if that isn't a feeling? What if you're not crazy? What if your baby actually chose you and your partner's parents? What if this isn't like happenstance? And so what else would they like to choose? Like, what else would they like? Are you including them in the choices you're making about what you eat every day? I think I told a story about this back. There's a lot of women that I would see because I taught prenatal yoga for a really long time. And there would be so many women who would come to prenatal yoga and they would have been vegans, vegetarians, and they would just be kind of horrified because all of a sudden they were craving meat, like craving it to the point where they couldn't not have the meat. Now, some of that can be physiologic, like the body, again, so this is your body giving you information. The body's going, we require this. We're doing a little bit of work here that's not normal, just growing a bunch of cells. And so they would actually like it could be that, but it could also be that the baby body and the baby being like aren't vegetarians. I know vegetarianism is a choice. And so I found that once we started having these conversations and actually looking at like, well, is that something your body requires? And I would have people look at like yes or no, which is lighter. Or hey, is your baby actually just asking for some meat? Like, yes or no? And like, would that work for you? So it's not like you start to ask these questions and you have to go with what like you are aware of your baby's asking, because maybe it doesn't actually work for you to add meat into your diet. But maybe it does for the time that you're pregnant. So what I'm actually inviting you to is what if you actually were willing to just give your baby and your body a choice? Like, actually, just hear their perspective, their point of view, their preferences. Because so many of the things that oh gosh, like so many things that we've decided for ourselves, no, this is the way it has to be. Like, that is something that is actually a preference that maybe we've cultivated over time, and we've put lots of points of view and justifications onto why that's a preference, but it's still a preference. You still actually have the ability to choose something different. And when you're pregnant and preparing for birth, there's more than one people, more than one people, more than one person who's in the equation. The baby's in the equation. So what if you actually started to, you know, even if like this is a very weird thing, like even if you just started to play with it, you can think I'm crazy. Totally. Like I'm completely fine with that. In fact, when I first started using the tools of access consciousness, that's how I approached them. Like, okay, I'm just gonna try this. I kind of think it's a little bit of bullshit, but I'm gonna try it. And every time things would change. things would shift. I would have a different perspective. I would have a different awareness. I would approach something differently and it would turn out greater than I ever imagined. Like, it's pretty phenomenal once you allow yourself to get out of conclusion, to get out of like, oh, well, this is just how it is. That's a new thing that we've talked about in Access recently, like a presumed reality. Well, here's a presumed reality for a lot of women who have had babies. Well, I had a cesarean section with my last baby, so I'm going to have one with this baby. Is that actually required? Maybe. Maybe that's what you would like to even choose for you. Maybe that's what the baby actually would choose. But if you don't ask the question, if you're not actually willing to go like, is that actually true this time around? How will you know? So really what this baby talk is inviting you to like playing with the idea, like, what if nothing is a fixed outcome? What if you don't have to do anything the same? What if you can wake up every morning and eat differently based on what your body's requiring that day? I mean, like when you're building a baby, every single day there's a different thing happening. Like how much fun could you how much fun could you have going, okay, baby body, what do you require today? Do you require more rest? Do you require more water? Do you require more protein? Do you require any minerals? Like you could really get like specific. And sometimes you'll just get the hit of like, oh my God, like all of these pregnancy cravings that everybody like implies are in your head and just part of pregnancy. What if they're actually your body telling you and the baby body telling you, like, hey, we require more of this thing? And it may not be like the red meat, but it could be that you require more iron, so then you're in the question of like, okay, so is it the actual meat or is it the minerals or is it, whatever it is? And it doesn't have to be like, oh, it's like this is a building block. Like, what do you require emotionally? Growing a baby and having that amount of hormones going through your body can be quite emotional. It's a roller coaster, man. So it's like, what do you require that day? Like what, like body, like what could you choose? What does your baby know about that? Like, what would you be willing to, like allow your baby to contribute to you? Like, do you ever give your baby the choice to gift to you, to contribute to you and your body? Or are you always like, no, I'm growing this baby. I'm the mom. I know best. I'm the one putting out. I'm not receiving anything. What if you could allow your baby to choose to gift to you? What would that create? Like, really? Like even if you're not pregnant, like just look at the energy of that. If women knew that the babies that they're growing, the baby bodies and the baby beings, desire to contribute to them and desire to contribute to their bodies, that it's not a one-way street, how different would pregnancy and birth be? How different? So, on that note, I'm going to just wrap this little baby talk up today. So, that was a really fun one. I'm very excited for whoever was here live. Thank you so much. And for those of you that are watching in the future, thank you so much. And we will be here next Tuesday. Again, if you are seeing this outside of my Baby Talk group and you want to see all the past Baby Talks I've done, you can ask to join Facebook group Baby Talk with Cartwright. And we'll see you there, or we'll see you next week or sometime in the future. So thank you very much, and we'll talk soon.